nice if you were all
They're not gonna bring, I guess they're not gonna, am I on?
Yes, you are. Dirk has been on as long as I've known him.
Okay, I'm on, but where am I? No, is this loud enough? Yeah. How do you gotta get?
You sound really
I guess
good.
you're not gonna bring Mr. T out.
I'm gonna be there, brother! I'm gonna be there, brother!
He's back, he was right back there for a while, but I don't know.
He would never cut, after the show. It's true, we tried to meet T. And he was going to come to my house. Dirk flew in from Montana. And I was on the phone with T the next day. And he didn't. I'm going to be there, brother. I'm going to be there tomorrow, brother. He never showed up. But we did have a bottle of scotch.
Yeah, so we had a fallback position, plan B.
It was a couch, 6 feet.
We didn't drink when we did the A-team. We couldn't. That came later. The drinking came later. We didn't have time. We were doing that show. We were working too hard. Having too much. Playing too hard. We were playing too hard.
Yes. But here we are standing behind chairs. Because you know we're going to sit, right?
Yeah.
Just a little tension.
When are they going to sit in a chair?
There. Yeah. No. This is
Okay, Dirk.
Okay.
Anyway, this is...
All right, well, thanks for coming.
This is the only friend I have from Hollywood, and that's the truth. He's the only person I stay in contact with. Very, very good friend.
Yeah, it's mutual. But he could have a lot of friends. Where I live, there's nobody to have friends with because I'm way out in the middle of nowhere. But you could have other friends.
I could have.
You're tempted sometimes.
But I decided
to cheat on our friendship and then to form a close. Sometimes you get nervous. I come down and you start talking about some friend you met at some deal. But I know it'll never last. I know they will. Nobody could really put up with you in the long run. No, I mean that in a good way because his brain is so big and so powerful. And he's got a wide variety of interests and he's multifaceted. So it takes somebody humble like me to deal with it. I'm suffering from a multiplicity of half talents.
Well, he
has full talents.
He truly is big. I mean, he introduced me to the term interplanetary promiscuity.
Yeah. God, I forgot about that. Yeah, interplanetary promiscuity. Well, that was Starbuck, but.
Listen, this is the truth. When I lived in New York City, I was a humble, unemployed actor. He was a big TV star. He was going to be a TV star. I was waiting for Battlestar Galactica to come on. And the actor that I was sharing, we had an apartment with the bathroom down the hall and the tub in the kitchen, one of those things. And we spent months saving our money to buy a little Sanyo color TV so I could watch him in color in New York.
And it was worth every penny that you paid.
It was. We were,
You're a New Yorker. You're sitting there going, how did these guys, the only reason that guy got the job is because of that hair.
That's right, great.
I should be playing that part. Why don't they hire real actors instead of this pretty boy up there pretending to be a Viper pilot? Come on. Was that what you were thinking?
It was very good. It was very good.
It
was.
was. It took me a long time to gain his respect when we did the A-team. But I told him when we did the show, I said, look, this show's got everything. I said, we have a movie star with George Papard. We got a larger-than-life, iconic personality with Mr. T. And we have a TV star. And we have an actor. You only really need one actor. You need one actor to give you legitimacy, which we never did get, but...
He promised me I'd have a motorhome. I never got it.
No,
yes, that's right. Everything he promised me fell
One
through.
of the big failures of my life was that. I was sure it would happen.
Yes.
I was sure it would. I don't know. But I ran into something that I had no idea existed. We had resistance from the very people for whom we worked, the network. And so I didn't realize they were trying to not let us get too out of control, think we were too special. We were not a favorite show for the network. The A-team wasn't. They looked down on us, so we didn't get a lot of perks or kudos, or they didn't like us. Even though we made their whole network successful, and we're the #1 show in America, they were embarrassed by us. So that's one of the reasons why we never got our motorhome.
Yes, that is true. In fact, this is a true story. The way this, well, I'm going to start at the end. The way the show ended, you know, in Hollywood, there are these things called wrap parties for the end of a series, for the end of the year or the end of the show. And generally, when I was working on Star Trek, for instance, they gave you a jacket every year. You know, there was always a wrap party. When the A-Team ended, they came, they took away the trailers one by one. Only one person came to the set, which is Frank Lubo. We went to a bar to say goodbye. But there was no wrap party, no goodbyes, no thank yous, nothing. And that really tells the story of our experience in the 4 years we were on the A-Team. It was not the experience of a #1 show because the network hated it. It's a very interesting...
You know, shows that are become #1 in America, usually like MASH or all of them, they usually have an ending show. They write the show that ends the show, and they let people know the show's going off the air, and we're gonna, you know, the A-Team will be captured, or they'll retire, they'll disappear, they'll get killed or something. But no, it was not that. We just got a notice that said next week will be the last show or something like that. I don't know. I know they had to drag me kicking and screaming from my trailer. No, not real life. No, I can't go back. I can't go back to an anonymity. No, anything but that. I can't deal with it.
Yes.
But you know, little did I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But tell him the. I think I tell him the story about what the head of the network said about at the.
Brandon Tartikoff gave an interview to the New York Times.
Brandon Tartikoff was the head of NBC.
Head of NBC with Grant Tinker, and we had just become the #1 show. And we were, their idea, they wanted Hill Street Blues and St. Elsewhere, programs of that nature, to be the quality programming. And they were very fine shows, don't get me wrong, but we were the #1 show. And so Tartikoff gave an interview to the New York Times, which said, we're not proud of this show. This is not the kind of entertainment that we want to bring to America. So I told Papard, now this is how long ago this was, I sent Brandon Tartikoff a telegram calling him a third-rate executive. And I said, if this is the military, you gave us a job, which was to take the #1 spot, and we did it. And this is what you say? So he sent me a telegram back saying, I am really hurt by what you've said. He said, you should check with the individual who wrote that. I didn't say those things. Well, I did check with the reporter, and he had a recording. So I sent another telegram back, and I kept, by the way, the Tartikoff telegram, I still have it. And I sent him a telegram back. I said, how dare you say you were hurt? I said, we're the ones whose faces are out there. And I said, we're the ones who have been hurt. And George Papard said, oh, pal, this is a big mistake. You've made a big mistake. But I you know, that
he was just jealous that he didn't do it, probably. He would have liked to have done that, because, you know, he was a bit like Hannibal, and he kind of wanted to be up front taking on the network. But so finish the story.
Yeah, let me just, well, anyway, there's one other thing, and this is the last thing I want to say. Many years later, I got a call from my manager saying Brandon Tartikoff wanted to meet with me. And it was in an office near Fox Studios, and there was nothing in the room, nothing at all in the room. And he apologized. He apologized for what had happened many years ago. And he had been through a lot. His daughter was in a serious automobile accident, and I do believe that at the time he apologized, he found out he had cancer.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
And he was making amends, and it was a really big thing that he did. I was very moved. But he just simply said, I'm really sorry that I did that. I shouldn't have done it. It was a show that made NBC important, and that was really important to me.
In his book, he did give us credit.
Yeah.
But at the time, when it would have meant something, he wasn't there. Grant Tinker, who was over Tartikoff at the time, said, asked why they didn't promote the A-Team one was the #1 show, and didn't involve the stars. They used to do those ads to sell the show. and they never asked me or Dwight to do it or George. I think this is he said, well, the A-Team is a hamburger show, and we consider ourselves a filet mignon network. So that was it. So you're a bunch of hamburger people out here. But enough complaining. It was a great experience, and in a way, that's all, you know, the show was about these guys that were out there that were like on their own. And we were very much like that as actors. We were always filming on location, out in the boondocks, which is one of the things I love most about the show. We weren't in the studio, we weren't inside, the executives couldn't get to us. We were like a rogue filming crew out God knows where. We would show up, Dwight and I were always the first ones there at 6:30. The crew was there ahead of us, but actors. And we would start at 7, sometimes at 6:30, and we would quit at 7, 7:30, go home, do it the next day. And it was fun. It was an all-guy crew, except for one woman. It was an all-guy cast, except for one woman that guest starred every week. And so it was very male, very fast work, hard work, no muss, no fuss, and it was a very unique experience for me in the world of show business.
Yeah, I agree, and it was also, I mean, for me, I first of all, I never thought I would work in Hollywood. I always thought I would work in regional theaters in New York. I never thought of myself, because I was always over the top. A little hammy, is that the word? A little bit of a ham. Never thought I would work on television, and in fact, I was fired during the pilot. I was fired. They came and told me, "Sir Dwight, they don't think you're going to make it." So we were in this thing called the truck.
And I wasn't in the pilot.
That's right.
He was in the pilot. I was not. The part was written for me by Stephen Cannell, may he rest in peace. And the network refused to hire me, so they hired a different actor to do the pilot, which you may know I wasn't. And Dwight was hired, and he was in it, and then he was told he was going to be fired.
Right, and the guy, Tim Dunnigan, who played Dirk, when he found out that I was fired, he gave me all this consolation and spent all this time there, and so did Melinda Kalea. And I thought, well, you know, and they put me with the stuntman. They took me out of the trailer, put me with the stuntmen, who were fantastic guys, by the way. Just
really the best, yeah.
Just incredible people to know and to work with. They were the best. And they were all I'm sorry about that, pal, that show business, you know, that one of those things. Well, anyway, by the time we got back to Los Angeles, they had been editing the material together, and my agent called me and said, "Dwight, your dials were great." I said, "What the hell are dials?" I don't know. And they were testing the film, and my dials were really, really good. So they rehired me. So I wasn't fired. So we did the pilot, and then, no, but this is the point of the story. So Tim had given me a great deal of consolation. So we actually read a script of the A-Team, which we only did. This is the first one that you were in. They did not tell us that Dirk was replacing Tim Dunnigan. So we walked into a room, and there was Dirk sitting, and they said, "Well, Tim is gone," and that's show business. I mean, we weren't told. They couldn't tell us that they had replaced an actor.
So I show up. I'm in Montana shooting ducks, you know, pretending they're network executives, and I get a call. I mean, really? And I get a call from my agent saying, "You're not going to believe this." I said, "They fired the guy." He says, "Yeah. They want you to, Stephen Cannell wants you to." I said, "Great, I'll go do it. I don't care." And then we're I couldn't renegotiate. I said, "No, I'll go back for what we negotiated up front. I just want to do that part." Because I was written for me by Cannell. It was a wonderful, and I loved the script. I said, "This is so funny, so great." I never watched the pilot, so I never saw Dwight and George and Tim Dunnigan and I couldn't bring myself to watch it. You know, I was too heartbroken. But so I didn't know how good they were. But then I never had in my mind that when I went to that read-through of the first script, and I was going to meet them all, that they didn't know. So when I walk into the room, they were all kind of weird with me, and I thought, wow, they're either really impressed that they're going to get to work with Dirk Benedict.
That's true.
Or they're saying, "What the hell is he doing here? Why did you hire?" Which is what they were doing. They were all like, they were a bit speechless, and I thought it was because, you know, my hair, but it wasn't. They didn't know. If I didn't know that going in, if they just said, "Oh, by the way, I haven't told these guys that you're replacing this other actor," I would have said, "Oh man, don't do that. Oh no." But we had to read through. which I'll skip over. It was wild, it was crazy for me, because I'd never met him. We had this read-through, and Mr. T and George, they just took over. Stephen Cannell was sitting at the table with his pipe. And their personalities were so big, and they talked so much, and it was just barely controlled chaos. I went back and called my agent. I said, if they can get that chemistry on this show is going to be a huge hit. I said, because these guys are really individuals, you know, a lot of actors are not like that, you know, they're careful and they're calm and none of these people were. And there was a tug of war even then between George was trying to control the table and T, you know, you couldn't control him, so. And when I went to work, the whole thing was, it was just like, it was always almost about to get out of control, off camera, you know, just a lot of, for the whole 4 years, right? Yeah.
Well, T was great because if he knew that there was a member of the press on the set, oh my God, T's on, he would say this all the time,
I'm nothing but a piece of steak. They put me in the frying pan when all the juice is gone. I'm just dried up. So I need my money. I need my money.
And he would say, there'd be particularly a female from People magazine, right? And he did not like the press. I mean, it was, you know, they don't treat you particularly well, and people said a lot of bad things about us. In fact, we're the only television show in the history of the early TV where Captain Kangaroo Bob Keeshan held a press conference and blamed us for drug problems in America. That is the truth. That is the truth. So T would sit. He always wore a shawl, and he had to have a heater, no matter how hot it was.
Where's my heater? Where's my heater? Where's my heater? Where's my heater?
He would say, and he would stand there,
And he'd be walking around with a half-gallon of orange juice.
yes.
Or where's my heater? I said, T, if you didn't mix that much orange juice, you might not be so cold. Because he was always drinking that citrus.
Or he'd have a whole pie and a fork. It's true. And he said,
Well, I understand there's somebody from People magazine here. Wants to talk to me.
and we'd all be sitting there, oh God, here he comes.
And he'd say, wait a minute, I can't talk to you until I get rid of these boogers. Wait a minute. I got the boogers. Oh man, I got to go.
You know, number two.
I got to go, man. Oh, I got to go to my trip.
And then the woman would come up, very, very shy, and he'd say,
Well, you look like a girl. You ever have sex with a black man?
and I have to tell you, I mean, we're sitting around saying, well, I wish I could do that.
What, have sex with the black man?
Yes. Dwight, I gave you that. This guy, see, I give him all the
Well, I keep telling you, it's never too late.
We are living in a bubble.
It's never
But this was Mr. T.
And another one, I remember him saying, I smells the producer. This is when our producers would come on the set. Oh man, smell it! I smells the producer! Oh man, I got to go to my trip. And he never, and you know, he would talk all day long. He would sit in his chair talking. You know, I got my plane, I flew to Chicago. Oh man, I met this guy all day long. So at first people would just kind of stand around and listen because they're very funny. But after a while, you know, guys at work are just going by him like this, just ignoring him unless you've never been on the set. And then people, Jesus, this guy's talking and people are, he just was stream of consciousness, always talking. And sometimes it's not good. T, we gotta roll camera, could you? And then they would come and guess, we gotta shoot this, come on, we gotta go. He never, he didn't want to have any dialogue, you know. He was, oh man, do I talk? Oh man, I took liberitis, I don't want to talk,
We had a script guy named Cosmo Constantine. That was his name, Cosmo. And Cosmo, you know, he's somebody who follows everything that is said. And T would go, oh man, Cosmo, I forgot my word.
Because Dwight and I would have a lot of dialogue. We had some of those scenes, you know, where we go back and forth, and then George has it when we're all, and then, you know, B.A. would have one word or two lines. The whole thing would stop. Oh man, do I speak? Yes, it's your line of the week, team. I I think we figured it out. He got $5,000 per syllable. We're joking. Actually, he was one of the main reasons the show was a hit in the beginning.
That's right.
And he's very charismatic, and he was perfect for that part, and he knew it, and he knew what to do. I mean, what he did in the 80s was not really who he is. All that, that's not real. Well, it's part of him, but it's all an act. He was always most of what he did was an act. He had a lot of different personalities. And
he was very witty. When my parents came to the set to visit, he said, "Oh man, look, Dwight's parents are here." You know, and tell him, he works with children. He really did. This was an amazing part of this guy. Because I could not do this. What he had and what he did, he would be working with a child who had about 3 weeks to live. And he would carry the child around on the set the entire time, stand there, talk to the child, and you would see this little child who didn't have any hair because they were probably in chemotherapy. It takes a very special person to do that. I mean, to be able to do that. And he did this all the time, and he didn't bring people from the press there to say, "Hey, look what I'm doing." He did it on his own, and he did it frequently. And it was an amazing thing to watch. He was a very, he really was like that.
But he wouldn't do a show with us.
No, he wouldn't do a show.
He doesn't like. I don't know if he likes it. I don't know if he likes us. I think he likes it. He used to love me.
Well,
Actually, I used to talk to him a lot. He had cancer in '97, and I called him and I talked to him a number of times. "Oh, brother," he said, that cancer ain't for no wimps. I go, "No, I know." But I called. That was in '97, '98, '99. We were going to do that show. I was going to do it in Germany. 2001 or something like that. I don't know. But we're in Salt Lake, and this experience is really amazing because it's the first time show, and as you all know, and there's a lot of people showed up, so it's quite astounding. And I've always had a soft spot for Salt Lake because I'm a native of Montana, and I've always had my little cabin there. When I was doing the A-Team and before that Battlestar, I had a little cabin. I still have it, so I would go back and forth. So this is almost exactly halfway, so I would hang out here. And then, I skied a lot in Utah in the 70s and 80s. And then I dated Marie Osmond for a little while, late 70s. And then I got kicked out of Utah for a couple of years. I was banned from Provo, but... But anyway, it's been great to be here. It's quite an astounding experience.
in fact, I skied with you in Utah.
We did?
We did. My wife was pregnant and didn't know.
No. That
Yes.
was Salt Lake. That was Sun Valley.
Oh, you're right.
Right, it was Sun Valley.
I'm 66. I had a brain
My
infarction.
wife was pregnant and what?
I had a brain infarction.
Yeah, you did.
It's also called a cerebral hemorrhoid.
I can see where he did. That was fun. We had a lot of fun. He's really a fun guy. I miss him. It's the only person I miss a couple other people, but not like Dwight. I live up in Montana. Oh, you love him. Oh, you thought I was self-sufficient. I am. I'm trying to get there. I'm letting go of everything. I don't need anything. No, but I need Dwight. I miss Dwight. Dwight doesn't talk to me a lot anymore. I don't know why. Well, he's busy. He's got a full life. And he still has a career. He still does things. And he's in LA, which, you got a lot to do.
I'm north of LA. I'm not in LA.
No, he's not, but you're. So, but I don't know where I was going with that.
But it's time for questions, I think. If there are any.
Yeah.
Time for questions. Is this one over here?
Yes. One thing I really liked about the show, I guess it was one thing that was prevalent in the 80s that's what I heard a lot of the healing of Vietnam was the plays, especially, the vets were treated like, guys just trying to do their job, not maybe the person. So, anything you want to comment on that?
Well, go ahead. Well, it's about vets at the show, and the fact, the way, and the way the show was, and one of the reasons it was not liked by the left in the United States was it was the first program that highlighted veterans in a positive way. And in a sense, they were misjudged. They were actually good people, and they protected those who needed to be protected. And there's a metaphor there if you want to look. That was Stephen J. Cannell. And that was Stephen who did that. And he didn't, and this is the interesting thing about Hollywood, he didn't know that the show was going to be as funny as it was.
He didn't realize, because he hired four really funny guys to do the show. We think funny. I mean, Dwight and I think funny, and George too. I mean, he made that character funny. We became a cartoon show. We were over the top a little bit. But yeah, the vet thing is, you're right. The left thing didn't like it. We had conservative principles. It was a morality play. It was right and wrong. It was cut and dry.
Right.
It wasn't great. We got the bad guys, and we called them bad guys, and we went and we did it, and you can't do that, because that's, first of all, judgmental, because you're saying, oh, they're bad, we're gonna, so.
And the New York Times was, it's a violent show, it's nothing but violence, it's violence. And when it was so funny, when we went to the Netherlands, at Tros TV, they took it, the first thing they said was, well, we love this show because there's no violence. It's a cartoon, we love that, but they're
Which in Dutch means we love it because there's no violins.
But it's true.
Yeah.
America, the ideology of the left in this country, it's kind of monumental. I mean, monolithic. And there was a teacher program to get 8th grade students to write to the network to take us off the air. And the kids didn't want to do it. These were all programmed letters. The same with Bob Keeshan and Captain Kangaroo. These were all planned attempts to do away with our program because it was a male show and it represented the Vietnam War and people who fought in it in a good light.
In a good light,
They wanted to kill them.
And it was male. It was too male. Because Hollywood was then really being taken over by the female, which is now totally taken place. You will never make the A-Team again with the same values and the same testosterone and the same silliness that it was done. That's all gone and gone forever. And I believe the reason that you people still remember it is that it was a male show. It was silly. It did have family value. It had traditional values.
First of all, thank you both very much for being such a huge part of my childhood. Battlestar Galactica, A-Team, and then later on with Star Trek. You've spoken a lot about Mr. T on the set, and one of the things I really loved was Murdock's incessant annoyance to Mr. T. Was there anything you would do off the set to kind of keep that going, to keep that, that little fly buzzing around his head?
No, we didn't have to do that. But we understood. See, this was another thing. We knew that this show was an entertainment. That's what it was. We wanted to entertain you. That's what we wanted to do. And NBC wanted to kill that entertainment. But T and George and Dirk and I all knew we were actors entertaining and bringing a cartoon, fun program with values and entertainment. When we were off camera, the thing we did the most was laugh. That's what we did.
Laughter. And laughed all day long.
Right. And beg we never had the same writers year after year. We begged for the writers to stay. We begged for good writing. We begged Stephen Cannell to write. You can't imagine this. When you have a hit series, those writers stayed with that series throughout 7 years. But we knew what we were destined.
The message of that show, you don't integrate like MASH. MASH was anti-military. They made fun of the military, and they were so. But it was very lightning in a bottle. I never didn't know what the hell it was, and they didn't expect it to be a success because the America ends in the San Bernardino Valley. I mean, they don't know what's going on. So they were stunned. They didn't order about 3 episodes or something originally, and so the fact that it took off and people liked it and watched it was, and then the guy that created it, Stephen Cannell, bless his heart, didn't realize. It was, he called me up once and said, why are you doing that Irish accent? It's because it wasn't written. I said, because it's funny. He said, but it's not. He says, you're pretending to be undercover and nobody knows who you are. I said, I know, that's what's funny. But he didn't like that because, and I get it, but it was funny. I said, it's funny. So we did we did push it a little too far sometimes.
Well, now you see, this is where it gets interesting with people in Hollywood. Steven thought this was a serious show, right? So he writes for me an invisible dog, Billy, right? So we're doing the tag of the show. And I said to the director, I said, I studied mime and I can do all this stuff. I said, and at the end of the show, I said, have Billy pull me off. So the guy went, oh, I can't do that. I said, he's an invisible dog. Have him pull me off camera. He says, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. I said, do it both ways. Do it where I just end up with my invisible dog and have me pull off. So Stephen, he calls Stephen J. Cannell, and Cannell calls me and he says, what do you think this is, a kid's show? And I went, yeah, that's exactly what it is. He said, you got me with an invisible dog, Stephen. We're going to do it both ways, okay? You look at it. He chose my way. Sometimes they don't know what they've written.
They didn't know, and then it morphed into something, but they didn't know. This is why it frustrated the network, it frustrated Steven, and why we had the ending of the show with because they couldn't say, yeah, I did, I created, because it was so collaborative, and the actors really, it became something that was bigger than they imagined, which is what art, which is what is supposed to happen, but it was, and they didn't really, why or how, and it was very irritating to them. And then, it's the most amazing experience I've had as an actor, and a very important experience in my life generally. I learned a lot about Hollywood doing that show. I mean, I realized then what it was really about. Because you would think because I knew people, I dated some of the Kate Jackson, Charlie's Angels. I knew what it was like to be in a #1 show in America. I saw how she was treated by the network, by this, by that. None of that happened. I knew Mark Harmon. I knew some of these actors who were, none of that happened for me. Nor Dwight. None of it. I was like persona non. People would come up to me when I did the few times go to parties, and they would come up and whisper in my ear, Dirk, I want you to know I like your show. They didn't want anybody in the room to hear them that they liked the A-Team because they wanted to work in Hollywood. It'd be like me saying in Hollywood, I don't like Barack Obama as a president. You can't say that. You'll never work again. But it's true because the A-Team was like saying you like Ronald Reagan, which I did.
So did I.
It was. And with that,
What was it like to work with Rick Springfield on the set?
Rick Springfield, that was Battlestar Galactica. I got him fired, he was still good looking. Too good looking, and worse than that, he had a little charisma. And then I found out he could sing. I said, this guy, you gotta kill him off, because he may take over for Starbucks. No, he was great. He's a really sweet guy. Very humble, very sweet, very quiet. He's still that way. He was really, really nice. Really nice guy. It was great. It was a great guy. He played Richard's brother, right? Apollo's brother, but he was very nice. And still is a nice man. Which some of us aren't. Okay.
Hi guys, just wanted to say thanks for the picture yesterday. It's blowing up my Facebook, so. What did you guys think of?
Not the restroom?
What did you guys think of the movie that they made a couple years back and who they cast in your role?
Well, Bradley wasn't good looking enough. I can only make that joke because, of course, he was and is. But I haven't seen the movie. But I still have an opinion,
I'll
let you go.
Yeah, I saw the film. They brought us up there to do cameos. And by the way, I loved Charlotte Copley, who played Murdock, who from South Africa was a big fan of the show, a legitimate fan. He was one of the sweetest people.
A real fan,
yeah.
And a Murdock.
Yeah.
And then he got to play him.
Yeah.
And he lived in South Africa.
They had this great audition tape, which I saw, blew me away. It was phenomenal, and it was very. I mean, as an actor who's, I was a vocal actor. Most of the work I do is from the voice. And to hear this guy with this South African accent talking to me like this, like, I did it, and I'm doing the Southern accent, doing this and that. It was great. I did see the film. And I thought it was very well done. My criticism of it, it wasn't the A-Team, the television program. They took something from all of the characters and gave it all to Faceman. So at the end of the movie, it was Face who came up with the plan, not the Colonel. Faceman was the one who was handling munitions and doing what the A should have done.
That's all wrong, right? That's what I mean.
Yeah,
So it's not the A-Team.
But it diminished.
An A-Team is an ensemble unit where everybody has a function.
Diminished the A-Team.
Oh, you knew that.
No, it diminished the A-Team, and I do believe that the biggest miscast was the Colonel.
No, I'm going to be quiet on that. On the Colonel, Hannibal. I mean,
Yeah.
But you know, I best not say anything.
Liam Neeson.
But it just wasn't the TV show.
Yeah.
My kids saw it. My two sons are really smart, and they went to the premiere in Hollywood when it was premiered there, and then they reported back to me. So they report back to me on everything that's going on in the world because I never leave my house. So we'll go over here now.
I'll take awesome over critically acclaimed every time. You guys were a great show. Love the A-Team. Question is, if you were a bad guy and you captured a crack commando team, what would you do with them besides put them in a shed with settling torches and vehicles?
But that's what was so funny. It was funny. There wasn't.
First of all, I tell them all to clean their fingernails and those close-ups of the hands, that wasn't me. My hands were always clean.
I would say, oh, please don't throw us into that briar patch.
That's right.
Oh, no. Oh, no, please don't throw us in that shed. No, not next to the acetylene torch. No, I'm afraid of torches. No. Oh, you're going in there. No, that's what was so funny. Didn't you laugh when you went there? You go, oh, my God, they put him in. They got the bazooka, and now they got the... Well, it was like Faceman with the girls. I mean, please. Real life isn't that way. Well, for me it is, but for most people it's not that way.
I'm shocked, but I'm glad they didn't.
Good way, yeah.
That was hilarious.
Thank you.
All right, just quick two-part. Who coined George Peppard's catchphrase? And Dwight, your character, how much did you improvise from what the writers had written?
The catchphrase was written by Stephen J. Cannell, and George said it very well, made it very... I love it when a plan comes together. Yeah, that was Stephen Cannell wrote that. Yeah, he was a wonderful writer.
As far as improvisation goes, most of it was written. You would improvise when they weren't giving you rewrites. And this is the kind of improv. For instance, there's a scene in which Murdock is taunting the motorcyclists, right? So instead of taunting, I would do a chicken. Go ahead and mime a chicken. And that's an improvisation. And then the next week, because they liked that, they would have you be a dog urinating on a fireball.
Yeah, you got a lot of that. He would do something that they didn't write that they liked, so then they would write it. So then, it's nothing worse. So then to him it's boring because he's already done it. So they were writing what they'd seen instead of writing something different or written.
And there were times when the tag didn't work. And what did Frank Lupo say to you?
He says, "Oh, Dirk, you can fix that. Just fix it. You can fix it."
Yeah, we'd rewrite.
So I would rewrite it. Yeah. He was lucky that we could both write, and I like writing, so we did. But I didn't want to do it, so it was very depressing because you also feel abandoned. It's like you come down to breakfast and there's no breakfast. Your mom says, "Well, you can fix it." Yeah, I know I can, Mom, but don't you love me? I mean, don't you care? I never had that experience. My mom cooked for me every morning, which made me what I am today. A belief in the woman belongs in the kitchen. But that doesn't get you very. I know I'm showing us big. No, the world would be better off. What's wrong with America is that women abandon the kitchen. So once she does that, the home disappears because she's the focus and the fulcrum, the heart. She's what keeps it all together. She's the center of the wheel. And without that, we're.
We would throw in modern illusions like the pianist Ashkenazi that wasn't in the script, just to raise your eyebrows, you know. And they would, once the show became fairly successful, for instance, I was doing a scene in a home downtown for the homeless. And it was an Elmer Gantry. I mean, I used to do it. They would let me do impressions. So the dialogue was written, and I would do it as James Mason or Peter O'Toole. And they would let me do that sort of thing. But then they would let you periodically throw in a tagline. For instance, I'm looking at all these bums. They're all sitting around. And I'm doing the Elmer Gantry thing, and the thought just hit me. I said, I wonder where all the female bums are. You know, and so they would let you throw in a line like that and improvise those sorts of things. And then once or twice we would rewrite an entire tag. Yeah, but we worked. We did 13 pages a day, which, you know, in a motion picture you only do 2 usually, and that's a lot.
At the most, yeah.
So it's a.
After it was over, I went and did a guest shot on Murder, She Wrote. And they took 8 days to do this show that's all inside, it's walk and talk. And we did our shows in 7 days. For a while we were doing them in 6. We had some second unit, but we did 7 days. We would shoot that. So we blew, as you know, we blew things up. We had fist fights, we had special effects, and we had the dialogue, and that had to be recorded and heard because we never went in and looped. So we were moving so fast we never rehearsed. Dwight and I would lots of times sit in our chairs before and we'd run it, and they said, okay, we're ready. We'd get in front of the camera. We had color-coded marks, and we just walked, and then we would just shoot it. Well, you know, today, now,
And then they always called Dirk Dwight, and they called me Dirk.
I know, yeah. It was weird, and they seriously did it. At first it was funny, then it was irritating, and then, you know, I threatened to quit once. I never did that. Next, which side are we on?
This side, yeah.
I was just wondering, going on? Yeah. You touched on something earlier, which is always really bugged me, which is the unceremonious end of the show, just going out with no final episode or anything. Have you ever thought about, if there could have been a final episode, how you think the show should have ended, what happened to Murdock and Paceman?
Well, I never do that. I never think about what could have been, you know, except with that one girl I knew in 1974. Other than that, I never say, oh, I wonder what could have been. No, it doesn't serve any purpose.
I suggested, I actually did, because the very first, this is honest to God truth, the very first day when I met George Papard, where he shook my hand and said, I'm George Papard, I'm not a very nice man. That's the truth. I thought that there would be a last.
What did I say to you? What was the first thing I said? You don't remember, do you?
I'm George Papard, I'm not a very nice man.
No, what did I say?
No. I'm Dirk Benedict.
Oh,
I'm a TV star.
I'm a TV star, right.
No, but I thought of the very last day. I knew there would be a last day, and I wanted to enjoy every single day. But I once talked to Stephen J. Cannell, and I said, we ought to film an episode now and go out like the Alamo, with George being, and never show how everyone gets it, but give an indication, but have George there at the end. You know, and we should film that so that it's ready and in the can, because I know you hate the show and you're just gonna die. But I suggested that to him, but they would have none of it.
Did George like that idea? Did you hear that?
Well, he said, you die, I don't.
George said
That's it.
yeah. No, well, we can, you know. But that's a really great idea. I never heard that. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So that would have been nice, yeah.
But they didn't. They didn't.
Yeah,
See, now I'm depressed. Now you ruined me. Now I'm thinking about what could have been. See, that's why I don't do this.
I'm sorry. Take some of Murdock's meds.
I just want to say thank you guys for coming. I had a pleasure of meeting you yesterday as Olive Oil. Decided to go.
Oh, yes,
I went blonde for you, Dirk. You talked about blondes yesterday.
Great, man.
Yeah, but you talked about how much fun you had. What was the most difficult part of it, of the filming and being part of the A-team?
The lack of, you understood that they didn't care when the writers kept changing, and
it was frustrating. It was heartbreaking.
That was the hard part.
we got some scripts that were, you just knew they didn't, it's like, the analogy was good. It's like coming to dinner and nobody's cooking for you, and you go, you can throw something together. You know they don't love you. They didn't care, so that was the hardest part, because we really did. And then, towards the end, Dwight and I looked at each other and we said, well, we're the only ones who really, because George and T had kind of moved on. They were going to, I think George was tired and T was done. And Dwight and I still had a passion for the show. But
yeah, that was really the hardest part. You wanted it to be successful, and I'll never forget John Ashley was a producer, and he passed on. We can't get into that story, but I'll never forget. They were looking for syndication, and so they only wanted to do 100 episodes. That's all they needed. And John Ashley said to me, "Why, we can give them shit and fall over the finish line." And I just looked at him and I said, "John, what are you talking about? This was, I can't tell you. I mean, we love the audience, and we understood that we're successful. The entire industry is successful because of you. And yet this is the prevailing background. And it was very debilitating. So we loved each other, but nobody else wanted this to work, and you saw what you were fighting against, and it was almost an impossibility. So that was the hard part. That was
You guys having fun?
Yeah, we have time for 2 more questions. We have a question over here, and then a question right over here.
And to get off topic a little bit, both of you had a chance to travel a lot and live in different places. Where are your favorite places to live and places to visit that you wouldn't want to live?
LA, I wouldn't want to live there, because I did for a while. I live in my favorite place is where I am, which is room 973 at the Grand American. They got me. Everybody else is there. I'm in a little motel just down towards Draper somewhere. I have to get in the car, but that's all right. My favorite place is actually where I live. If I could live anywhere, I would live. A place I would like to visit, or wouldn't want to be, LA is at the top of the list, I guess. I like New York City. I would like to spend more time there.
Yes, I unfortunately live in LA, or the LA area. And even though I live there, I would not like to live there. Believe it or not, I love this area, Salt Lake, very much. I've worked here quite a few times. It's a very, very lovely place.
I've never worked here. Oh, no, I did the Don and Bree show, but that was before.
I also love Colorado. I have to tell you, I also...
You like anything with trees?
I do. I love trees,
but you don't
water,
like
and mountains.
You like trees.
I want to fly like a bird.
Fly.
Yes, but yes, I have to admit that I love it.
I wouldn't mind living, and I may, in my lifetime, move to New Zealand, where I've been many times. Okay.
Hey, thanks for coming on, guys. I think everybody here, when you brief me, that you guys are total badasses. So thanks for coming on. A couple of questions. Since A-Team was such a funny and like kind of cartoony show, like what were like times on the show where you guys like just couldn't paint it? Like it was a blooper and you guys like had to do like take 74, like something you guys were just so like, like you just couldn't like paint.
No, we didn't have a lot of that. Where we broke each other up, no, because we didn't have time for that. People were running on that set, but we laughed a lot. We would do stuff, and after we cut and wrap, but there was not a lot of respect. We were moving, so we'd say, okay, cut, print, next. Yeah. So the crew's running, the camera's moving, and Dwight and I are just standing there. It's like being, taken advantage of. You're there, you go, oh. It's kind of like post-coital.
I was in a box at one time, and they shot the scene, and everybody's moving on, and I'm in the box, banging on the box. Let's get someone to let me out, but they won't move. So, I'm sorry. But that's how fast it was.
We did make each other laugh all day long, but on camera and then on camera we were very serious about the work. It was silly, but it was done with a really serious. And we worked very hard to be silly. But off camera, there was a lot of goofing around and laughing. We laughed all the time. But in front of the camera, it was all business, It was serious.
Whether you do Shaw, Shakespeare, or the A-Team, if you're a professional actor, you do it exactly the same way. You want it to be as good as it possibly can, and you apply yourself to it.
And then really fast for you, Dwight, like what was it like changing from like a crazy like bad Murdock guy to being sort of this like really.
Well, you just, I am more like Barkley than, I mean, so this is my stock phrase and it's true. Murdock is the guy I always wanted to be, and Barkley is the person I'm closer to. When I was young, and I still have terrible insecurity problems in the audition process. I've only had 7 jobs through the audition process in my entire life. That's really bad, because most actors get a lot more than that. But I fundamentally, sometimes I can't even do a dialogue that I'm very familiar with if I'm in an audition. Something inside is, and that's part of part.
Well, auditioning is completely different from acting.
Yes.
It's a whole different technique, but.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank